It's about that time where NBA trade rumors are really starting to stir the pot in the league, and one of those big names that's being thrown around is Anthony Davis. So I'm going to be talking about some possible trade destinations, and then we're going to follow up with some power rankings so far in the NBA. So if you want to hear more, tune in right after the intro. Thank you for tuning in to podcast number 76 of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfoos, and like you heard from the intro, there has been some crazy trade rumors going around. We've had some star players being thrown around. We're going to really highlight Anthony Davis in this episode since he's the one that's been kind of thrown around the most. I know there's other players like Ja Morant, Zion, LaMelo Ball, and other players, but we're just going to really focus on Anthony Davis right now. And if you want to hear me, maybe talk about those other players in a future episode, let me know down below in the comments. But let's talk about, is Anthony Davis on the move? So first, we're going to name some possible trade destinations. We're going to see whether or not they fit or not. And then we might go on a little bit of a rant. We'll just have to wait and see. It's starting to become kind of a normal thing for me to do that. But anyways, I'm just going to name 5 teams that I think are pretty common names that you hear, or pretty common names for these teams to be thrown up into these trade rumors for Anthony Davis. So the first team is the Los Angeles Clippers. And if you ask me, I don't mind it, but I also don't like it. I think the Clippers, unfortunately, have built kind of a weird team. I said kind of in the preseason power rankings. You could check that video out, by the way. You could just go to some playlists or just past videos on my channel. But the Clippers, they've built this team. They have a solid team, but I did say that if injuries get in the way, then that's going to be a problem for this Clippers team, and that's going to really prohibit their growth in this season. And right now, injuries have really hit them. And adding another player like Anthony Davis, who is known to be injury prone, might not be the best idea for this Clippers team. I know it'll help it'll increase their abilities on offense and defense, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, how reliable can Anthony Davis be due to the fact that he's always out injured? I'm not a big fan of this Clippers fit. I just checked out some random article talking about random destinations, and the Clippers were one of the teams that have popped up a lot. I just don't really like the fit for the Clippers. It would be kind of funny that he gets traded back to another LA team, but it's not the Lakers this time. That's just my thought. But anyways, the next team is the Detroit Pistons, which I actually got news earlier today just from a notification that the Pistons actually have shown mutual interest in trading for Anthony Davis. And we've also heard I heard just a couple hours ago that they're also shopping Tobias Harris, who has an expiring contract. So you would have to assume that he would be involved in that deal. I don't mind this for the Pistons just because the Pistons are a team that they have a lot of young players along with draft capital that they may not really need right now, especially since they've been playing so well. They're looking like a solid team. Adding Anthony Davis, even if you have to, take the risk of him potentially being injured, could be worth the shot just because you have Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, which may have to be thrown in there. I would personally rather put Jaden Ivey in that deal, which I think they probably could. But you got, like I said, Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, and Jalen Duren already. That's a nice young core. If you add Anthony Davis to that, just to that squad, that could be really good for the Detroit Pistons. Even if he's injured, this Pistons team could still hold their ground, and I really like that for them. So I wouldn't mind Anthony Davis going to the Pistons. We're going to go through these next 2 teams pretty quickly. The Sacramento Kings, absolutely not. The Kings need to hit the rebuild. They have been playing bad. We all know DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine did not work in Chicago. I don't know why they thought it would work in Sacramento, but they need to rebuild. They need to start trading some of these guys at the best of their ability and just rebuilding, gaining draft capital, and building through the draft. It's going to be rough for the next couple of years for them, but it's already rough. Might as well make it a little more rough, but possibly have better chances at better draft capital. I like that better for the Kings. And then for the other team, it's the Miami Heat. I don't really like this either, just because the Heat have Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo. There's really no need, in my opinion, to add a player like Anthony Davis. This Miami Heat team is okay. I don't think Anthony Davis makes them finals contenders. That's just my thought. And then the final team is the team that I really do not want Anthony Davis to go to, and that is the Chicago Bulls, my favorite basketball team. Anthony Davis, I want nothing to do with him in Chicago. I like how the Bulls are building right now. They're building a nice young core. I do like Josh Giddey. I think Modest Buzelis is solid. Noah Esenge, he hasn't gotten any minutes in the actual NBA games, but he's been developing in the G League. He's still 18. He's got time to work. Kobe White, I'd rather re-sign him and Ayo Dosunmu rather than bringing in Anthony Davis, a massive contract. No, thank you. Bulls, stay away from it. I do not want an injury-prone player on a team where you add Anthony Davis, and it's not like this team's just getting like significantly better. This team's turning into a finals contender. Like, definitely not. I want to build through the draft and let this team operate. We're going to have a ton of salary cap space going into this offseason with I believe $80+ million in expiring contracts. Get that out of the way. Maybe sign someone nice like Jaden Ivey if he's available, but in my opinion, stay away from Anthony Davis. I do not want him to come near anywhere. I don't want him anywhere near Chicago. I know he grew up in Chicago. He's a Chicago native and stuff. I don't care. He's also a Packers fan, which doesn't really go well with the city of Chicago. So something like that, no thank you. No thank you to Anthony Davis. But let me know what you guys think down below. Comment below a team that possibly could be a really good fit for Anthony Davis that either I named or possibly have not named. So let me know down below, and we're going to go up to the NBA Power Rankings now. Okay, before we go into the NBA Power Rankings, I have to ask you a question. I do this every episode lately. Have you liked and subscribed? If not, you can. It's completely free, and you can always unsubscribe at any time. So just feel free to like and subscribe, and comment down below what your top 5 teams in the NBA are right now. And let's hear mine now. So first up, and this is going to be in order, so I'm going to do it from 5 all the way to number 1. So I'm just doing 5 teams. I don't want to make it too long. So at number 5 on my list, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. And it pains me to say this because I'm not going to lie, I'm not a big Lakers fan. But man, this team is sitting at number 4 in the Western Conference with a record of 11-4. They're just below the Houston Rockets that are 10-3. This Rockets team's good, but I think this Lakers team, in my opinion, is better. LeBron James is coming back from injury. Who knows if that's going to help or make this team worse, because it does seem like the Lakers were doing very well without him, especially with Luka and Austin Reeves leading the way, which, by the way, Austin Reeves is having a great leap so far this season. He's playing really well, and he's stepping up to the occasion, so shout out Austin Reeves. Along with DeAndre Ayton proving me wrong, he has been playing really well this season, and I am willing to say that I was wrong about him so far. Now we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the season pans out, but so far it's looking pretty good, and it's looking like a great signing for the Los Angeles Lakers. The one thing I do question is their depth a little bit. They do have some young guys that, haven't really had the opportunity, and some that have had the opportunity but really haven't stepped up. We'll just have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot of talks about potentially LeBron getting traded up to the trade deadline. We'll have to wait and see on that. But right now, I do have the Lakers sitting at number 5 on my personal power rankings. They're looking like a very solid, well-oiled machine, and they're going to be a team in the Western Conference that not a lot of teams are going to want to be matched up against come playoff time. Next up, I have to put the New York Knicks. This team, I know they are currently, let's look at the standings. They're sitting at 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now. They have a record of 9-5. They're looking okay. Honestly, I'm not mad about how they're playing. They are 6-5 right now, as their conference record, so not great, barely above 500. But I think this Knicks team's going to get it together. I think they're probably going to be trying to be a team that's trying to make a little bit of a couple of trades going into the trade deadline. Jalen Brunson is still an excellent player. You have Karl Anthony Towns, which I think they should personally trade. I'm not a big fan of Karl Anthony Towns on that team. I think they could trade him for some really quality role players. They also have really good defensive wings in OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. I think this team's going to really start to get it together. They have a new coach in Mike Brown. In my opinion, it just takes time, to kind of get operated with a new head coach. And I think over time, they're going to start to get better and better. And they're still sitting at a record of 9-5. So it's like, if they're still kind of in a point to where it's like trying to figure out the scheme with this head coach and at a record of 9-5, what are they going to do once they really start to click? If they ever do start to click even more. So I do have to put the New York Knicks at the number 4 spot. And I'm going to name some honorable mentions real quick just because these two teams barely missed the list, but I do think they deserve some flowers. And for the Eastern Conference, I'm going to have to put the Toronto Raptors, a team that's been pleasantly surprising so far. They're sitting second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 10-5, and they're 9-2 in the conference. They are looking really solid. Brandon Ingram has been an excellent addition. Shout out to the Toronto Raptors. And then for the Western Conference, a team I kind of mentioned earlier, the Houston Rockets. They're sitting at a record of 10-3. They're 3-2 in conference play. But this Rockets team is looking solid. I think they'll probably hit my power rankings if they continue to play well. And who knows, I think they should still try to trade for a guard like Kobe White at the trade deadline, but they would have to free up some money off of that. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But let's get right back to number 3, where I have the Detroit Pistons making this power rankings list, who are sitting at number 1 in the Eastern Conference right now with a record of 13-2. They are 9-2 right now record-wise against conference teams. This Pistons team is good, and we just talked about in the last topic about how they could trade for Anthony Davis, which could make them even better and make them possible contenders, which they might already be contenders at this point. Cade Cunningham is playing like an MVP, definitely deserves his flowers. Jalen Duren is also a player that could be making his first All-Star game appearance and most improved player this year. This team is looking unreal, and they're still missing Jaden Ivey. That shows you that this Pistons team not only has the star talent, but they also have the depth to get the job done, and their record shows it with a record of 13-2. At number 2, we have the Denver Nuggets, a team that is probably going to be up in these power rankings very high for almost all season. They're sitting at a record of 11-3 with a conference record of 9-2. So they're playing well. They've had some ugly losses. They just lost to the Bulls a couple of nights ago. But that's because the Bulls bench just absolutely dominated that game, outscoring the Nuggets by a ton in that aspect. But this Nuggets team, regardless, is a very, very good team. I really like this Cam Johnson trade, which a lot of people are talking about how, the Nuggets lost that trade because of Michael Porter Jr. He's balling out in Brooklyn. I'll talk about that in a future episode because that's going to get my blood boiling. I tell you what, people that think that the Nuggets lost just because Michael Porter Jr. is balling out in Brooklyn do not understand how trades work on both sides. So, anyways, the Denver Nuggets definitely deserve their flowers. Nikola Jokic so far has been the MVP this season. There's no doubt about it, and he deserves to be at that number 2 spot, and this Nuggets team at that number 2 spot in my power rankings. And then finally, at number 1, if you haven't guessed already, this team deserves it. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the best team in the NBA. They're sitting at a record of 15-1. They're 11-1 in the conference. This team is just playing downright amazing. They have the star talent, they have the depth, and this is another team that I could see making the finals and possibly winning it again. We could be seeing a dynasty since those top 3 players on the Thunder are already locked up under contract for multiple years. They're looking really good. I'm curious to see how they're going to play, especially once they start playing a little bit tougher competition. They haven't played the hardest teams. I'm curious to see how they are going to be against the Denver Nuggets, especially because I think those are going to be the top 2 teams in the Western Conference. But anyways, that's going to be my top 5 power rankings for this season as of now. So let me just rename it. At number 5, I have the Lakers. Number 4, I have the Knicks. Number 3, I have the Pistons. Number 2, I have the Nuggets. And number 1, I have the Thunder. Let me know what your top 5 power rankings are in the NBA right now down below in the comments. But anyways, that's going to be the end of podcast number 76 of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfuss, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for your contributions to everything, just like helping me out so much in this podcast. I appreciate it. We're going to keep it going, even though I have a busier schedule. You can check out last episode if you want to hear more about that. But anyways, I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.